Okay, where were we? Oh, yes. Chapter 2,000,007, which is about halfway through this book. I'm not a monster, the monster said to Jimmy. What are you then? Said Jimmy. A giggler, said the even smaller than the smallest giggler. Robbie grabbed Jimmy's legs and pulled him out from under the drum, and the giggler followed Jimmy. Hello, she said, and she rubbed her hands and giggled. Any second now. Any second now what? Said Robbie. Your dad's shoe will hit the poo. Abba? Said Kayla. Rover's, said the giggler. And she came out from under the drum and stood up. Hang on a minute. How come they could see her? Aren't gigglers supposed to be like chameleons? Aren't they able to change colour? We did read that. Good questions. Yes, they are able to change colour, but a few days before they met the even smaller than the smallest giggler, the boys had painted the oil drum purple, and gigglers, remember, aren't very good at being purple. So they could see her clearly. She was bright blue against the purple drum. Abba, said Kayla. We put it there, said the giggler, so your dad would walk on it. Why? Said Robbie. Because he sent you up to your room last night with no supper, said the giggler. But he only sent us up for a minute, said Robbie. Uh-oh, said the even smaller than the smallest giggler. Abba, said Kayla. And the giggler agreed with her. Yes, she said, it is a terrible waste of poo. Next door, Rover was burying his bone in the flower bed. Well, you're not getting your money back, he said to himself as he kicked muck on top of the bone. Muck is another word for mud. And it's not fair either, said Jimmy. We'll have to warn him. Abba, said Kayla. Good idea, said Jimmy, and he ran to get their mother, who was the fastest runner in the house. I've an idea, said the giggler. Rover. Uh-oh, said Rover in the garden beside them. He tried to be more dog-like. He chased a fly. He scratched himself. He went woof woof and snarled at a pair of underpants hanging on the washing line. Rover? He heard the giggler's voice. Rover! It was a special call, like a dog whistle. Only dogs could hear a giggler's call, and all dogs had to obey when the gigglers called, even clever, sparky dogs like Rover. But Rover wasn't going to give up. Rover? I can't hear you, he shouted. I've got a cold. Rover, said the giggler, jump over the wall. I can't do that, said Rover. I've got a bad back. I'll pay you 50 pence, said the giggler. And Rover jumped the wall without a bother and landed right in front of the giggler. I take all the major credit cards, he said. Then he saw Kayla and Robbie looking at him. Yes, this bathroom's occupied. That was Frederick. We have 2 bathrooms, so it's okay. We can keep reading. Where was I? Oh yes, the dog just told the giggler that the dog takes all the major credit cards. And then he saw Kayla and Robbie looking at him. So, I can talk, he said. Have you got anything to say about that? No, said Robbie. No, said Rover. You're not surprised? I'm a dog, and I can talk. We know you can talk, said Robbie. We've heard you. You're always muttering and giving out when you're digging in your garden. Am I? Said Rover. Yeah, said Robbie. How long have you known? Said Rover. Abba, said Kayla. That long? Said Rover. I'd better be more careful. The adults might hear me. Don't worry, said Robbie. The adults don't listen. They just think you're barking. So only kids can hear. He turned back to the giggler. So what's the story, Gig? Mr. Mack's foot is heading for your poo. We have to stop him. My poo? Said Rover. If he lands in it, he'll never escape. It's the best poo in the business. It's super poo. He ran to the wall. Hop on, kid. And Kayla jumped down onto his back. Hang on to my ears, said Rover, and he ran out the gate and headed for the train station. The Giggler jumped onto Robbie's back. Follow that baby, she said, and Robbie ran. Billie Jean ran out of the house with Jimmy on her back. Follow that Giggler, said Jimmy, and Billie Jean kept running. So, wait, Rover has Kayla on his back, Robbie has a Giggler on his back, and Billie Jean has Jimmy on her back. Okay, I just needed to get that straight in my picture in my brain. Chapter 16. This chapter, by the way, is the great grandson of chapter 1. Back at the station, Mr. Mack finally turned away from the seagull. Can you believe it? He's been there all this time. Goldfish, said the seagull. Yuck. But Mr. Mack wasn't interested anymore. He turned his head. In time to see the poo? No. His foot was right over the poo now, and the poo was shaped exactly like a shoe, so Mr. Mack couldn't see it. Shoe-shaped poo. It looked exactly like the shoe's shadow. It was a trick Rover had practiced over the years, and a lot of dedication and dog food had gone into getting it right. That's what happens when you practice. You get better at things. How much now? Said the middle-sized Giggler. 3 inches. My goodness, said Mr. Mack. These are the all-time stiffest trousers I've ever worn. And he thought he heard a dog barking. All right, I had to stop there to eat some lunch. We are on this chapter. It's called This Chapter is Named After Elvis Presley because he lives under the shed in our back garden. Look at that picture. What on earth is going on there? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Mr. Mack did hear a dog, but it wasn't Rover. It was just a dog. Rover wasn't really a barking kind of dog. Actions speak louder than woofs was Rover's motto. And right now, Rover was probably the most active dog in the world. He ran like the wind's big brother with Kayla, the baby jockey, on his back. He galloped so fast his paws hardly touched the ground. This is cool, said his left paw, the front one. Good old Rover, said the right paw. He's a flyer. Abba, said Kayla. Yep, said Rover. I'm the only dog in the world with talking paws. Hang on tight. So not alone does Rover talk, but his paws talk too. As he galloped past the shops, the bread shop, the sweet shop, the twirly-coloured pasta that's very nice with cheese shop, Rover was fast, and so was Robbie. Even with the Giggler on his back, he was faster than Rover, and he was catching up. Past the bread shop and the sweet shop. And Billie Jean was faster still, even with Jimmy on her back and heavy mountain boots on her feet. She was zooming down the street and catching up with Robbie. Past the twirly-coloured pasta that's very nice with cheese shop. Rover, Robbie, and Billie Jean. They were the fastest things on 8 feet. But would they be quick enough? A very short chapter to let you know how many inches Mr. Mack's foot was away from the poo. 2. There is more than one side to every story, and this story has lots of sides. The cream crackers give their side of the story. We weren't there. We saw nothing. Isn't that interesting? It's true, though. There are more than one side to a story. I think we learned that with the Three Little Pigs and the Wolf's Tale. Those stories. Okay, this chapter is called A Real Chapter. I have no idea what number it is. Rover ran. The clothes shop, the toy shop, the colouring pencil shop. As he ran past the pet shop, he looked at the doggies in the window. I guess those are the doggies in the window. So long, suckers, he shouted. Oh, that's not very nice. The shoe shop, the sock shop, the grandfather clock shop. Robbie and Billie Jean caught up with him. Do you know any good shortcuts, Rover? Said Robbie. Woof, said Rover. He wasn't going to talk in front of an adult. He didn't care how nice she was. Chapter Rover tells his side of the story. Shh! I have to be very quiet. If my owner wakes up and catches me typing on his computer, I'll have a lot of explaining to do. I can just hear him. How did Rover plug it in? Just what exactly was Rover doing here? How did Rover know how to spell his name? He nearly caught me last week. I was sending an email to my girlfriend in Galway. Okay, so Rover the dog was sending an email to his girlfriend in Galway. That's a town on the other side of Ireland, to where I think this story is set. Her family moved there a few months ago, and I have a feeling I miss her more than she misses me. Oh. Anyway, there I am, writing her a love poem, trying to think of a good word to rhyme with Lassie. That's her name, by the way. When I hear the owner turning on the bedside light. I was out of here and downstairs on my mat before his feet hit the floor. Then he must have noticed that the computer was on. And you know what he said? Who put the paw marks on the mouse? Can you believe that? Who lives here for dog's sake? The owner, his wife, 4 big kids, and 1 dog. The owner, his wife, and the 4 big kids have hands and feet, and the 1 dog has paws. Who put the paw marks on the mouse? The man asks. Anyway, I still have to be careful, even if my owner isn't exactly a master detective. There's only one thing I want to say. If I had known that the Gigglers were going to use my poo on the Mack guy's shoe, I would never have sold it to them. I swear to dog I would never have done it. I have to make a living, and I like what the Gigglers do. I like their style. But I've seen the Mack guy playing with his kids. He's fun, and a loving husband, and all that corny stuff. He brings biscuits home from work, and he often throws a few over the wall to good old Rover. Okay, they're not exactly fresh, but it's a thought that counts. I like the guy, and I'll say this. If Rover likes a guy, he doesn't go around pooing on his shoe. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I'd better get out of here. The owner is mumbling in his sleep. That means he's going to get up for a pee or a sandwich. I'm out of here. Double click.